Let's start with confirmation bias. This is when we focus on information that confirms our existing beliefs and ignore anything that contradicts them. Imagine wearing blinders that only let us see what we want to see. This can prevent us from learning new things and making informed decisions. There has been a lot of studies and debate on this topic, especially around social media, as the algorithms on various platforms are designed to push similar content that we like to us. If we are not careful, it's going to fuel this bias. When we come across new information, remember to apply critical thinking skills we discussed in earlier videos. Next up is anchoring bias. This happens when we rely too heavily on the first piece of information we receive. It's like being anchored to a spot and not moving, even when new information comes along. For example, if we hear that a project will take 2 weeks, we might stick to that estimate even when it's clear it will take longer. Especially in a project setting, it's way better we flag the issue early and discuss with the team to readjust the plan than to raise our hands when the deadline is near, leaving no room for any fixes. The availability of heuristic is when we judge the likelihood of events based on how easily we can recall similar instances. It's like thinking shark attacks are common because we've seen them in movies, even though they are rare. This can lead us to make decisions based on incomplete or misleading information. Try our best to look for objective data and statistics to confirm the frequency of the issues at hand. Reading the numbers can help us counter this bias and prioritize what needs to be addressed first. 4. Hindsight bias is the tendency to see events as having been predictable after they've already happened. It's like saying, I knew it all along, but in reality, we didn't. This can prevent us from learning from our mistakes because we think we already knew better. Even if an event seems similar to what we have experienced, try to find if there are any differences, as the world is always changing. We will be able to identify new insights and improve our ways of working. 5. Overconfidence bias is when we overestimate our abilities or the accuracy of our knowledge. It's like thinking we're invincible. This can lead to taking unnecessary risks or underestimating challenges. Over the course of my learning life, after acquiring a Master in Business Admin, Bachelor in Computer Engineering, and a Diploma in Advanced Visual Effects, and the course of my professional life as a programmer, an entrepreneur, a senior manager in one of the top 10 banks in the world, a fintech consultant, the most important thing I have learned is I haven't learned enough, and that I'm far from invincible. I understand that there are always things other people know that I don't, even in my domain of expertise. So I'll always hear what people have to say, and then verify my own understanding. If there's deviation, I will go double check. Some of our knowledge can become outdated, right? 6. Self-serving bias is the tendency to attribute our successes to our abilities and our failures to external factors. It's like always giving ourselves a pat on the back, but blaming others where things go wrong. This can prevent us from taking responsibility and improving. When we are part of something, may it be a project or just a group activity, there must be something we can contribute better. Learn from the experience and look at what additional we can do next time. Maybe we can observe a little bit more and alert the team of the risks we see, even that's not our area of work. A team's success doesn't just come from each individual doing well in their own part. Agree? 7. The sunk cost fallacy is when we continue investing in something because we already invested a lot, even if it's not worth it. It's like throwing good money after bad. This can keep us stuck in unproductive projects or relationships. If we ever come across such situations, besides putting in effort trying to fix things, observe the results in parallel and ask ourselves, are there other alternatives that if we invest our time, efforts, and resources into one of them, that would give us a better outcome or future? 8. Groupthink happens when we prioritize harmony and consensus in a group over critical thinking. It's like everyone nodding in agreement to avoid conflict. This can lead to poor decision-making and missed opportunities. I had experience during a group project during my master program. We were all part-time students and in marketing simulation competition. Our team was in the second place after 3 weeks of simulation. In one of the critical meetings, right before the final round of simulation, I had to leave early because of some ad hoc work issues. I checked the discussion outcome of my team afterwards and cross-checked with my numbers. I noticed that the decision is going to prevent our team from achieving the best sales outcome. I then wrote an email to the team telling them what I saw. There were some unhappy feelings for sure, and comments like trusting the team and the discussion outcome and don't go back to review it since I wasn't in that part of the meeting. I understand we were all having our busy full-time jobs, so I acknowledged the difficulties. But at the same time, I shared with my team the numbers I have and told them my only intention was the team's success. I'm glad they reviewed my numbers and accepted my suggestions. And in the end, our team magically won by a thin margin and claimed the first place. Took a bit of risk, suffered a bit of tension, but in return, my team has a rewarding result. Isn't that wonderful? 9. The halo effect is when our overall impression of someone influences how we feel and think about their character. It's like thinking someone is good at everything because they are good at one thing. This can lead to biased evaluations and decisions. Let's say you have met someone that plays sports really well, and then you think they must be a good partner, and then started dating with him or her. Sounds familiar? 10. Conversely, the horn effect is when one negative trait clouds our judgment of someone's overall character. It's like thinking someone is bad at everything because they made one mistake. This can lead to unfair treatment and missed opportunities. For example, if someone in your team made a mistake before and some unrelated new tasks come in, would that impact your judgment to assign or share the tasks with that member? Are you sure you know that team member enough beyond that mistake they made? Maybe they're really good at this new task, right? 11. The recency effect is the tendency to remember the most recent information better than earlier information. It sounds pretty natural, right? It's like only remembering the last slide of a meal. This can skew our perception and decision making. To avoid this, it's better to keep a log of things if we know we are working on or learning something big. It's like preparing a flashcard for ourselves. When the time comes, if we have to make a decision, or someone asks us about that thing with us, we can pull out that log or flashcard to remind ourselves of the complete picture we have gathered up to that point in time. 12. The primacy effect is the tendency to remember the first piece of information better than what follows. It's like remembering the first chapter of a book more clearly than the rest. This can again affect our judgments and decisions. Similar tip as the recency effect, keep notes or logs to assist our minds to recall and balance things out. 13. The bandwagon effect is when we do something primarily because others are doing it. It's like jumping on a bandwagon without thinking. This can lead to poor decisions based on peer pressure rather than sound reasoning. I guess I don't have to elaborate too much on this, do I? There are just way too many examples in our day-to-day lives, such as purchasing things, attending events, queuing to try something, etc., etc. 14. Status quo bias is the preference for things to stay the same. It's like resisting change even when change is beneficial. This can prevent us from exploring new opportunities and improving our situation. Have you ever experienced situations which you see an opportunity or something you wanted to do, but chose not to take action because it risks or means having to give up what you have in hand? Then later on seeing someone did it, and you said to yourself, I wish I took action back then. It's fine to make changes in life, as long as we know we can recover even if we did not succeed. As I've shared in the beginning, I made quite some changes in my career, and I'm still doing alright sitting in front of you now. I hope I've given you some additional confidence. 15. Placebo effect. It's when we experience a benefit after receiving a treatment that has no therapeutic effect. It's like feeling better after taking a sugar pill because we believe it's medicine, or we go to see a doctor and already feeling better before we were given any treatment. This shows the power of our beliefs on our performance. Look at this from another angle. If we're suffering because we think we are lack of something, question ourselves whether that's objectively true, or is this just our emotions at play? 16. Survivorship bias is focusing on successful examples and ignoring those that didn't make it. It's like only studying the winners and not the losers. This can lead to misleading conclusions and overestimating our chances of success. Try to find out whether we have missed out anything, especially when the picture is too good to be true. 17. The Dunning-Kruger effect is when people with limited competence at a task overestimate their ability. It's like thinking we're experts when we're actually beginners. This can prevent us from seeking the help or training we need, explore more and observe more. By doing that, we'll be able to draw more references and have a better gauge of our abilities. Then, continue to spend effort and make improvements in areas that will bring us success. 18. Projection bias is when we assume others share our beliefs and feelings. It's like thinking everyone sees the world as we do. This can lead to misunderstanding and poor communication. Question our assumptions. Verify with other people by asking questions. Keep an open mind. 19. Illusory correlation is the perception of a relationship between two variables when none exist. It's like thinking that wearing our lucky socks makes us perform better. This can lead to faulty conclusions and decisions. Try to gather more evidence and data to verify whether a perceived relationship is correct. 20. The gambler's fallacy is the belief that past events affect the likelihood of future events in random sequences. It's like thinking a coin is due to land heads after several tails. This can lead to irrational decision-making. Now that we know about these fallacy, next time when we face such a situation, question our assumptions and see whether the assumption is based on objective facts and not the gambler's fallacy. 21. The framing effect is when our decisions are influenced by how information is presented. It's like choosing differently based on whether an option is presented as a gain or loss. This can lead to biased decision. I guess you would probably know better than I do, having seen so much news headlines and social media titles, and of course the associated content. 22. Clustering illusion is the tendency to see patterns in random data. It's like seeing shapes in clouds. This can lead us to draw false conclusions from random events. We have to first understand that our brains are wired to detect patterns. Always go back to check whether the samples we detected a pattern from are a good sample size or a good representation of the matter we are studying. 23. Belief bias is when our beliefs distort our logical reasoning. It's like rejecting logical arguments because they contradict our beliefs. This can prevent us from thinking critically and making sound decisions. We have to put our prior beliefs behind and remain objective. Review whether the arguments in front of us are true. 24. Negativity bias is the tendency to give more weight to negative experiences. It's like focusing on the one bad review among many good ones. This can skew our perception and affect our morale. This is more like a survival instinct that is wired in our brains to protect us from danger. However, when making decisions, try to balance between risk and reward. Also, visualize positive outcomes instead of simply focusing on possible negative results. 25. The Macmillan effect is when higher expectations lead to improved performance. It's like a self-fulfilling prophecy. This shows the power of expectations on our performance and highlights the importance of positive reinforcement. While this doesn't sound like a bad thing, we have to be careful not to set unachievable goals to ourselves or set overly aggressive targets to our teams without providing any guidance, training, or support. Just like when we go to learn a sport, we wouldn't expect our coach to sit there and expect us to play well, and then magically after a month, we will play like a pro, right? I hope this sharing helped you become more aware of our potential biases and start taking steps to minimize their impact and make better decisions. If you have any thoughts or experiences with cognitive biases, drop them in the comments below. I would love to hear from you. See you again at Intelli.